start right here, right, is the quality of recovering after being cut down, right? How do we recover, and how do we take a slap in the face? And how do we deal with a wall that's been erected around our business or our lives, indeed, right? And to accept failure, and to accept that we have to try new things. That requires a mindset, right? A resilient mindset, an agile mindset that we can practice. That's like saying to people, well, be creative. It doesn't work that way. Right? We have to discover that, and we have to nurture it. And how do we do that in a company? This is the crucial thing. Without failing, because we're feeling crushed by the pressure of constantly being resilient. And also, I want to say this is not really a question of age. It's not like, I'm going to be less resilient because I'm 60, or you're going to be more resilient because you're 25. That's not true. I think ultimately we can all recover and find that. It's just like we can rediscover imagination, and our brain is plastic, our brain is changing, and perfectly capable of doing this. Resilience is first about who you are, and then only about what you make out of it and what you do. So we have to change who we are as people in the company, as executives or managers or staff or human resources. And then we have to change the company's life, right? The brand of the company. Think about the resilient companies, how they can move quickly. Think about companies that have pivoted. And one interesting exercise on pivoting is now being undertaken by Airbnb. A very interesting case study about pivoting. Let's see if they have a chance and how they can go. I think ultimately I see this kind of chain of events. First you look for resilience, and then you want to be agile, and then basically you have to be tenacious about putting something into place which results in pivoting usually. I'll talk more about that, but really what we're seeing right now is this is about who we are, and we have to change who we are to be successful, and we have to adapt, right? So in this world, I see 5 different points about how that's going to happen, right? Our personality. Companies have personalities, right? But let's talk about our personality, the way that we take things, right? Can that be changed? Absolutely. There's trigger moments in our life that change who we are, how we react. You probably have seen all of those yourself. Our character, strengthening our character, the good things in our character, our mindset, what we think is real, what we think is possible. That is resilience. When we say, well, looks like this is over. And do I go into shock mode, or do I go into stand-up mode, into tenacious mode? Right? Our skills, of course, this is really something we can easily learn. Skills, for example, of identifying things, skills of negotiation, skills of understanding. Those are things that we learn every single day. And finally, it's about our values. Do we believe that we can make a difference? Do we believe that humans are good or bad? In principle, what are our ethics behind this? So that all flows into resilience and developing resilience. And this is a very big point, I think, of our future. Great example here is this fashion company called Jacques Mus. And they showed some amazing resilience and also inventiveness by putting their fashion show into a cornfield because of COVID restrictions. And it's pretty amazing, of course. I don't know what happened to the cornfield after that, but I think they were looking not to cut down as much as they would otherwise have cut. But basically what we're seeing here is that this cultural transformation that says, yeah, this is possible. Yes, we can do something really far out. We can pivot. We can be unorthodox. Right? That is a cultural shift that we have to embrace. It is required as part of resilience. And that's something we have to look at, especially with older companies or family companies, or especially in the financial business or insurance business, where we have often pretty rigid structures. We need a cultural transformation to be allowed to think out of the box, as they say, about the future. That is a cultural transformation that we need to do. So a very important point here, a resilient culture also embraces failure. There's lots of TV stations that are switching off now, so to speak. Lots of things that don't work anymore. International tourism? No, not working for the time being. Flying like we used to for business? No, it's 80% down. How are you going to embrace a new future? How are you going to embrace trying something and then it fails? I'll give some examples later, but sometimes you try things because you need to pivot and just nothing happens from it. And embracing failure is something that's much harder for us here in Europe. I live in Switzerland, You may be all over the world watching this, but yeah, a culture of failure is, yeah, this is a very American way of looking at things. You know? Failure is good. Going bankrupt is part of life. Well, that's much more difficult for us here in Europe, especially here in Switzerland. We must embrace failure when we try to pivot, when we try to be agile, because, you know, we're responding in real time. We're fixing the airplane while we're in the air. So this is an important thing. How do we do that? Well, that has to come from leadership. Fail fast, fail cheap, try again. I've said that many times over the last 20 years. But don't fail deep and expensive and never try again. That's quite a difference. You have to be responsible with your failure, of course. Yeah? So a resilient culture embraces failure. Great example here is Coke. When Coke launched the new Coke, I think that was maybe, was it almost 10 years ago, I think. But the Coke CEO fully acknowledged that it took 79 days for them to pull the new Coke from the market. It was an utter disastrous failure. Right? And now he says, the Coke CEO says, they have an award for projects that fail. The opposite. We always have awards for projects that are successful, making lots of money. We should award people for trying. Right? A resilient culture embraces failure, moves forward. And they learned many things. I think among others, the new Coke came back in a Netflix series the other day. I think it's called some science fiction show, but it made a comeback there. So it wasn't utterly disastrous in the end. Yeah? So we need to go away from this focus on functioning. And I clearly understand why that is, because we have many moving worlds, especially in large companies. Functioning is okay. Efficiency is good. Don't get me wrong. Right? But we have to get away from a focus of saying function, 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 because that's what machines do. Right? Machines are capable of functioning. They're not capable of reinventing their own function. Well, maybe they will be in the future. But for the time being, we have to think about a change towards creativity. That's really what agility is. We can create. We can say, this is what used to work, but I have a hunch here's something really interesting that could work. I'll give you some examples.